Hello, athletes and fans of bodybuilding. My name is Tarek Gindi with the Mr. Olympia. Today, we have five of the greatest icons in the men's physique division. They have represented the sport in the utmost level in the highest performance. The first one is the most popular men's physique in the history of the sport. He won the Mr. Olympia four times, and he is Jeremy Buendia. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm great, Tarek. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it, you guys.
Thank you so much. He has won shows in Brazil. He has won shows in the United States. He has won shows in Europe. He is the pioneer of the men's physique category in Brazil, and he's heading back to the Mr. Olympia. Felipe Franco, how are you, Felipe?
I'm great, Tarek. What's up, bros?
Thank you so much, Felipe Franco, joining us. With us as well, he's heading to the Mr. Olympia. Apparently, he's going to be competing this weekend in San Jose. He's won multiple times here in Southern California. He's the Indian sensation, Bhuwan Chauhan. How are you, Bhuwan?
I'm good, Derek. How are you? Thanks for having me here.
Doing good, doing good. Thank you. And also with us, he's one of the greatest coaches in the men's physique division. He's trained many people that have gone to the Olympia. He's won many times. He cannot rotate his phone, but he's a hell of a coach. Ryan Benson.
What's up, guys?
And with us, the first homegrown Filipino. He's the Pinoy Pride. He won in the Philippines in Subic Bay, and he's carrying the flag of the Philippines to the stage, to the Mr. Olympia stage, Jovan Sagabayan.
Hello.
Can you pronounce your last name for me? Because I think I mispronounced about 74
Yes,
times.
sir. Yes, sir. Sagabain.
Sagabayan.
Yes, Sagabain.
Sagabayan.
And
But-
my name. My name.
That's
Joven.
Joven.
Yeah.
It's Joven. It's Joven.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Jeremy, I go to the Philippines and you don't tell me any of this stuff, man.
I got to come with you next time, man.
You have to. So Jeremy, when this guy goes on stage this past weekend, it almost looked like we were watching a copy of Jeremy Buendia posing. His feet movement, his posing, everything looked like a Jeremy Buendia guy on stage. Tell me a little bit about training Joven and preparing him for this competition.
Yeah, Joven and I met back in 2018 in the Philippines. I went out there to tour with a previous sponsor. We went to a local show, and Joven was there competing, and he caught my eye. He ended up winning the overall there, and I went up and talked to him after the show. And I told him the potential he had. And I saw that he was kind of unsure about himself at first, and I had to convince him of how good he was. And we started working together shortly after that, and we made some plans to get his pro card in 2018 as I was preparing for my last Olympia run. And I actually went out to the Philippines a few times that year, and I trained with Joven in person, and we got to know each other really well. And it's just been continuous work. You know, every year he's got a little bit better. He's had some really bad luck with his visa issues and getting on stage and not being able to make certain shows. So we've done a handful of preps together, but he's only been able to do 3 pro shows. And every pro show he's done, he's been in the top 3, improving his placing each time. He went to Kuwait in 2019, took 3rd place. We were in Thailand a few months ago, took 2nd place. And last weekend in the Philippines, in the homeland, came away with that victory and earned his spot on the Olympia stage. It's somewhere where he's belonged, man. He has one of the best physiques in the world. And I'm just really excited that he has the opportunity to be compared against the best.
Now, based on what you saw in the Philippines, that physique you saw, do you foresee making any modifications on his body, or you're bringing the same thing?
There's only so many changes that we can make between now and Olympia. You know, we're 9 weeks out coming up here this Saturday, correct? And so, you know, if you guys saw his physique on stage, there isn't very much we need to do. His conditioning was on point. His fullness was excellent. You know, we can come in maybe a little bit drier, adjust some posing slightly. I think his back pose, we've been working on perfecting his back pose. It just comes down to being comfortable on stage and nailing it. Once he nails that back pose and gets it right where he needs to be and is confident in his posing, it's going to be one of the top physiques, top backs on that stage. So it's just more about confidence and having more experience on stage. And every time he gets on stage, he gets better and better and more confident.
Now, Jeremy, I missed you in the Philippines, but at the same time, I thought to myself, there was a moment during prejudging that he was not opening his back properly. And I said to myself, if Jeremy was here, he would be in the audience having a stroke.
Yeah. It's something we've been working on. I mean, ask Joe. I mean, that was the whole off season. He's been getting a lot of soft tissue therapy done, doing some physical therapy, trying to fix some imbalances that we have. And leading up to the show, his posing was getting a lot better. We were perfecting that imbalance. It's just, you know, with the nerves to get on stage, you know, some of those things that kind of slip the mind when you're in the moment. And I believe that the shot we just looked at on the screen, that's obviously not his best back shot. You can tell he's a little off balance right there. And that's something that just comes with a little tweak. And that's something that he's got to fix up here on stage and not let the moment and the excitement of being up there standing amongst the other guys excite him and take him away from, you know, what he's been practicing.
So, Ryan, I want to go to you on this as well, because you and Jeremy are now training these guys. And as a judge, this is what I believe happens. The guys, they get so nervous, so tense on stage that they end up overdoing it. And then when they open their back, a lot of times they're tilted. A lot of times their trapezius comes up and they don't open their back. What do you do as a coach to make sure that these guys duplicate what they're doing at the gym and they do the same thing on stage?
You know, one of the main things that these guys got to just compete more, you know, and like Jeremy said, he hasn't had a lot of opportunity to do shows as much. So the more they compete, you know, the more comfortable they get. You got to have actual stage time. You can tell the veterans, you know, what they're posing. And, you know, sometimes you get rusty, but I tend to have my guys practice their posing when they're already tired. So we'll work out, finish their workouts first, already stress their bodies, they're tired, and then I make them do their posing, just to put them in an environment to where, you know, they're already tired and they need to think about what they're doing, right? So, but, you know, it just comes, like I said, overall just comes down to practice. And then those nerves, sometimes some guys are more relaxed on stage than others, you know, so you know, keeping the nerves under control is a huge factor for these guys. Keep the cortisol levels down, you know, and that comes with just time and doing more shows.
Well, I'll tell you that Joven is going to have to be ready because he's going to be nervous at the Mr. Olympia, right? I mean, Joven, you know that when you step in the Mr. Olympia stage, next to guys like Felipe Franco, next to guys like Buwan, next to guys like Brandon Hendrickson, the nerves might come up, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, do you have a strategy yourself to calm yourself and just hit the back pose in a more accurate way?
I will practice it more, sir.
Because I gotta tell you. Go ahead.
And we will work on that with Coach Jeremy.
Yeah.
Jeremy, when does this guy come to the Olympia a little? Because I'll tell you, when he came in from the front, I said he's going to win the show.
Yeah.
I said to myself, there is nobody even remotely close. The Vietnamese guy was very good, took second. But when he came in from the front with that full chest, small waist, perfect posing, I said this guy is going to win the show. But when he turned from the back and he didn't open his back, I said he's in danger of losing the show. Yeah. How early is this guy going to come before the Olympia to practice with you?
Well, we've been talking about that. You know, Joe, did you get your visa approved today? I saw you guys post something. I think his visa got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So his visa
I just got the endorsement from the Senate.
So we're working on getting his visa, and once he gets his visa, we're gonna have him come out probably 3 weeks early. and start working with me. He's gonna come stay with me up here in Sacramento, and we'll be training together the last 3 weeks, and polish you on everything. It'll be at a full-time camp here, and I'll be watching you after everything, every meal, every rep, every cardio session. We'll be posing twice a day, 3 times a day until we perfect things. So, this year's all about Joe, and we're going to make sure that he comes in dialed in, and he's going to be able to stand with the best of them. I have no doubt about that. If he gets the opportunity to stand in that top 5, he will definitely not let anybody down. He'll hang with those guys.
Felipe, you've seen a lot of guys. You've competed with a lot of guys. You've battled it out. You and Jeremy actually competed in some of the first Mr. Olympias. What do you think of Jovin's physique?
Oh, Derek, Jovin's physique is a good boy, good shape, but back is no a little bit condition. Is a good volume, but no condition, bro. Mas good shape.
So just a little bit more separation on the back, right?
Yes, separations the back.
Do you have any other back shots from the show besides that one? Because that's just one shot.
No, Jeremy, I just picked the worst shot, so
there's definitely better shots of his back than that.
No.
Oh man, Jovin, your coach is like upset with me.
No, man, I just know his back is better than that.
Oh man, I'm gonna get here a better shot here. Those are the shots I got. No, I have here a better shot.
I got 100, 200, like 500 pictures of Jovin's back in my phone. So
I'm a judge. I look at defects. I don't look at good things. No, but I have a better shot here. And listen, that was my only feedback to this guy because I thought he was incredible on stage. And I think from the front, I think he's a formidable competitor, and he can compete with the best. But I'm going to get a shot, which is a little bit better, where he's opening his back a little bit more. But I agree with Felipe that he could have a little bit more of that crazy separation.
Yeah.
And
He can come in tighter, definitely from the backside.
So
That's a more balanced shot right there.
Yeah, more balanced shot. And I agree with Felipe. He has the thickness, he has the density, but if he's just a little bit, tighter from the back, then he's really, really fighting for some of the top spots, right?
Yeah.
Yes, good.
Buwan, what do you think of Jovin's physique?
Oh, I love it. I've been watching his physique and his updates since like few years now, and I know Jeremy's been coaching him. He's kind of like a mini Jeremy. I think that's what they call him in Philippines too, which is pretty true because of his posing. It just reminds you of Jeremy's 2017 routine. And yeah, it's just from the front, he's just so thick and so dense.
That's exactly when he went on stage and he started posing. I almost thought I had one of those rave flashbacks. You know what I mean? I thought it was Jeremy on stage. I was like, damn, this guy is moving just like Jeremy with his feet and everything. But
he just needs the attitude of Jeremy now.
And that's one of the things, Jeremy. We'll go back to you here. One of the things that you had on stage was, I am the freaking guy. I'm going to win the show, and everybody's here is battling for second place. And I don't think it's arrogance or anything, but a lot of times we judges and even the media said, Jeremy just has an aura to him on stage. When he comes in, it just has an energy that he is the best. Is that something that you acquire? Is the confidence comes from winning? How does an athlete like Jovin poses like that?
How does he pose? I mean, it's coming. It's definitely coming. I think a lot of it comes down to Jovin's confidence, and that's something that we've been working on. Something that I've been trying to work on with Jovin since we first met. Remember when I came out to the Philippines after Olympia, and I did a seminar out there with Joe, and he was really shy about talking in front of all the Filipino athletes. And I told him, like, man, these are your guys. You can't be shy. You can't hold back for them because they look at you like, the idol of bodybuilding out here. So you've got to have that confidence because they're going to listen to you. They're going to believe what you have to say, and they're going to follow what you have to say. So you have to be confident in your abilities and what you're bringing because you've earned that respect. So as long as he starts believing that about himself, that he belongs up there which I know he does, that confidence is going to come. And I think with every show that we get in, he's, especially after this win, I think you're going to see a much different persona on stage from Joe, especially coming into the Olympia as the first ever Filipino from the homeland to represent. He wants to represent with pride, and he wants to represent with confidence and show them that the Filipino people have a chance to make a big statement here on the Olympia stage.
Ryan, what do you tell your guys when it comes to posing with confidence? Because some have it and some don't.
Well, again, almost like repeating myself, but that comes down to practice. Some guys, it comes a little smoother and easier too. Some guys are more natural. Some guys can dance and some guys can't. So, it's and it just comes down to practicing, over again. And these guys, and then always reinventing, but also having a good coach or a mentor there who's can critique you. Because a lot of times these guys come to me with posing routines that are like, man, coach, you got to see this new pose that I'm doing. And I'm like, yeah, don't do that ever again.
Yeah.
So somebody who's going to be honest with you and tell you, if it looks good or doesn't look good. You can't just have your grandmother telling you, no, you look great. So you got to have, real honest people with you helping you critique your routine. And then having multiple routines, because when you get on stage, you're going to be getting on stage with different types of physiques at every different show. And you got to be comparable, on the fly with different types of bodies. So it's just being prepared.
Now let's talk about Felipe Franco. Felipe Franco is the pioneer in the men's physique division in Brazil. He was the first guy to come out of Brazil and go to the Mr. Olympia stage. And then in 2020, I believe, 2019, he had a very, very bad shoulder injury, right, Felipe?
All right. I
So
remember.
many people thought that was the end of Felipe Franco, that, his great career was over. But the reality is last year he came back, he won Portugal, and this year in Brazil, he won his event. Now, Jeremy, looking at his physique here, you've competed against Felipe. From the front and his abs, he looks as good as always, correct?
Yeah. Felipe looks great. He's gotten a lot better over the years. I was looking at actually pictures of when we competed against each other, and I think it was 2014 in San Jose?
Yes.
Is that when it was? I mean,
Yep, I was there.
We were tiny back then, so small. And to see how the divisions changed and how you've grown over the years is awesome. So yeah, man, you brought it this year. I'm excited to see you back on Olympia stage, bro. You belong up there.
So Ryan, one of the things that people were criticizing Felipe Franco was that from the front, he's top 5 in the Mr. Olympia, right? I mean, those abs, the chest, the small waist, the large clavicle bones. But people said his back doesn't have the thickness and doesn't have the detail. He was even able to win shows without beating people from the back. But his last show was his best back presentation. What do you think about his improvement on the back?
Oh, it was huge. I've had the privilege of coaching Felipe for a lot of years, and the improvements he made this last year were I mean, lights out. He sent me some pictures right before the show, and I was like, man, that back has improved. So in the past, I think his back was his weak spot. And I would say now that it is not even close to a weak spot. It's almost a strength. I mean, his taper is so good, and now he's just very balanced front to back. I mean, in my opinion, this is a top 5 in the world physique.
Okay. Buwan, what do you think about this guy, Felipe Franco? Does he intimidate you on stage, or you're going to beat the hell out of him?
Well, I've been watching him since I think before I even started competing. I think these were like the OGs of the sport, like Jeremy, obviously, Felipe as well. So I kind of like watch these guys grow into the show, get myself motivated to start competing, and now like being right next to them and competing against them is a great privilege. And I'm pretty happy that I'm going to be competing against Felipe. I don't think I've competed with him before. The last 2 years he wasn't there. So I'm excited. And I'm more excited because I've made the improvements and I've kind of like, I'm bringing a package that is very competitive to packages like this, like his physique and all the others that were at the top 5, top 8. So it's gonna be a really good battle. I'm excited.
Hey, Joven, Felipe Franco told me to take this picture and send it to you. He said, "This is how you open a back, okay?"
Yes, sir.
Hey, we heard it. We're taking notes. We got you. We'll see you in December.
I'll take note of that, sir.
Felipe, now I want to hear from you. So Ryan said that maybe in the past people thought, well, Felipe's back is a weakness, and now Ryan is saying it's actually one of his strengths, the back shot. What did you do in the last couple of years to improve your back?
My back's evolution years. Repete, dá para falar em português?
Yeah, you can speak in Portuguese and I'll translate real quick. Fala em português e eu traduzo.
Que tá difícil, tô dentro do carro até pensar, eu tô meio enrolado. Ó, eu tô, para esse ano aqui, minha condição vai ser maior e mais seco em cima do meu dorsal. Como minha linha de frente já é muito boa, então vai ser difícil para eles aguentarem comigo.
Mas o que você fez para melhorar suas costas?
As minhas costas, eu fiz uns treinos com mais intensidade e, ao mesmo tempo, 2 treinos no mesmo dia. Eu dividi minhas costas em latíssimo do dorso e subescapular.
Okay. So basically what Felipe said is that his goal is to actually come in even more conditioned. And I asked him, I said, what did you do to improve your back? And he goes, Tarek, I started working with more intensity. And the secret was that I divided my back training twice a day. I worked one section, of my back. And then on the evening, I worked another section of my back. Ryan, is that something common in if you want to bring up a lagging body part?
It depends on the person, but I think there's a balance you got to find between training hard and making improvements and overtraining. And as long as you can get your nutrition right, to be able to sustain doing that, I don't see a problem with it. As long as it's working. And then again, also though, lifestyle in between, like, do you have enough time to rest between, and are you eating enough, in between those sessions to be able to sustain it? And Felipe Franco obviously nailed it this year. So I would say for him, it worked perfectly.
Oh, Jeremy, what do you do and what do you recommend if somebody has a lagging body part? So if somebody has a chest that's not up to par with his physique and they come up to you and they say, hey, I need my chest to get better. What do I do? What is your approach?
Prioritizing the muscle first off. Probably started training it that week so you're not exhausted throughout if you're training it later in the week. Don't train secondary muscles around that muscle group. Utilizing more food on that day, taking in, higher calories, complex carbs, red meat around that workout to bring more volume, more blood flow, more nutrients to the muscle. It just takes time when you're trying to bring up a lagging body part, but prioritizing and making sure you're giving it the right nutrients or over-nourishing that muscle was something that I usually do to help bring up lagging body parts.
Okay, Felipe, what do you think? Are you top 10 at the Mr. Olympia, top 5? What's your projection?
Oh, I believe in me. Franco, top 5. Top 4.
Top 5, top 4?
Top 4. Não sei dizer quem é que vai ser. Eu sei que eu vou estar no top 5.
He said, I know I'm going to be in the top 5. Joven, are you going to be in the top 10 at the Mr. Olympia, top 5?
Our goal is to crack the top 5, sir. That's our goal.
The goal is to crack the top 5. Okay, that's good. It's a bunch of confident guys here. I like it. I like it. Let's go down to Buwan Chauhan. He won the Tournament of Champions, and we got a chance to see his physique. He's the best competitor in India, and he's actually based in Canada. Let's take a look at this guy here. So great abs, great V taper. Ryan, Buwan is one of the best genetic guys you work, correct?
Yeah, Buwan's got incredible genetics, and not just the genetics. Work ethic is second to none. So, he's an easy guy to coach. We set a plan, he executes it 100%, and I never have an issue.
Now the back shot has separation. It has a little bit of thickness, but it's narrow. It needs more back width. What have you guys done to improve that?
Oh man, I'm going to tell you, well, he's competing tomorrow, and you're all going to see it because he's going to be about 10 pounds bigger than he's ever been, better conditioned than he's ever been. And this is just a preview of what's going to come to the Olympia. His back is thick, it's dense, it's wide. Like I said, he's probably 10 pounds heavier than the last time you saw him. So,
Jeremy, unbelievable front pose. He's got the abs. He poses really well. Large clavicle bones. What do you think about this guy?
I've been watching Buwan's offseason the past year, just seeing his progress and how much size he's packed on. He works really hard. And the offseason is the time that all the work needs to be done to make the improvements you need to make on stage. And, a lot of guys aren't willing to do that in their offseason. And Buwan put in the work. He got up to like 240 pounds at one point, and, he's been slowly chipping away. And I've been watching. He trains hard. He goes in there, he pushes weight, he works his ass off. And I think with that effort and the intensity he brings to the table, it's going to show with his improvements. I'm excited to see you on stage tomorrow, bro, because a lot of people are really anxious to see you. It's been a while since you've been on stage. I know a lot of people in India are excited to see you on stage. And, yeah, man, it's going to be fun to see.
Hey, Buwan, I'm being a little bit critical about your back. I think from the front, you could potentially be at that top 5 at the Mr. Olympia. But I think your back needs to get better. This is a 2021 shot. Are we going to see something different on Saturday?
Yeah, so my back always had that thickness in the middle, like rhomboid straps, middle back, lower back. But I never really prioritized my lower lats. So the last one whole year, after seeing the pictures, after getting the feedback from you and some other judges as well, I started prioritizing and started actually putting an effort into growing my lats more than what I already have, which is like my middle back and lower back. Which is why, Ryan knows I've seen my pictures. I posted some updates on my Instagram as well. But this show on Saturday, you'll see that I've actually gotten a wider. My lower lats have developed more, and that was the goal, as well as chest. So with my chest, I changed my training approach, trying to put more focus on the form, trying to put more squeeze using more machines than less free weights, because I feel like I can contract my chest better and going to a full range of motion, which is why it has grown a lot more in the last 1 year. So chest thickness as well as the lower lats were my focus, and we have made these improvements for sure this year.
So, Ryan, he's bigger and the back is wider. From the front, I think he has one of the largest clavicle bones in the men's physique division, and he could also use a little bit more upper chest. Is that something you were looking at, or you're happy with his upper chest?
No, we assessed all that last year, and I think that what makes Buwan such a good athlete is that he's very self-aware also of the areas that we needed to improve. And like I said, this guy just does the work, and his off season was one of the most productive off seasons that I've had an athlete have in years. So he's doing everything that he needed to do, and I guarantee you it's going to show on Saturday. It's a drastic improvement.
I had a chance to, all of us judges, we talk about it and we look at athletes all the time. And Buwan is one of those guys that all of us have said, if this guy puts 10 pounds of muscle on him, he could win the Mr. Olympia. It's not about being top 5 or top 10, because he has that separation and the pretty looking physique. So I'm also excited to see what he's going to bring in San Jose, because it is definitely one of the best physiques in the men's physique division, right? When he gets on stage, it's just pretty to look. It's a very, very pleasing physique. And I remember in this show, I think he beat Stephen Cow, right? Stephen Cow, who's also a great competitor, and Buwan edged them out. Buwan, you top 5 at the Mr. Olympia this year, top 10, what's going on?
Well, the goal definitely has been that we want to crack that top 10. I want to experience the finals at the Olympia, which is why we didn't compete last year. But anything more than that is obviously what we are going to work towards. And I would be, that's my goal, top 5. But to just get to the finals is something I'm not going to miss out on this year. And we have put in the work, and it's going to happen this year for sure.
Very cool. Jeremy, you know that Olympia stage better than anybody, right? You've not only gone to that Olympia stage, but you've won it 4 times there. If you could give one advice to these guys going to that stage in 2022, what would it be?
It's confidence. You have to have your confidence up there. There's going to be how many competitors? Over 60 of you guys on stage. I never competed with that many guys. I think the most I competed with was 40, and that was a lot of guys on stage. So it's going to be really easily get overlooked if you guys aren't bringing your absolute best. So, this is a time to be perfect. You're 9 weeks out from the show, and every day counts. Every single workout counts. Everything anytime you're not doing something, the guy next to you is. So you can't allow anybody to have an inch. So it's all about perfection from this point on, and who's going to be the best 9 weeks out, and who's going to show up that day. But the work starts now. So, it's all about preparation and the confidence to bring on the stage in order to get the attention from the judges.
Ryan, what would be your advice to these guys that are on the final stretch of the Mr. Olympia? It's now or never. It's more of a mental game than a physical game. They got abs, they got chest, they got back, they got all. But in the end of the day, it's going to be the guy who's stronger mentally. What would be your advice?
Put yourself in a good, like you said, in a good mental space. Make sure you're doing all your homework. Make sure you're not skipping meals, and make sure you're 100% foot on the gas right now, because this is crunch time. Anybody right now who's thinking like, oh, it's still got plenty of time, they already lost. There's a sense of urgency to this sport. For anybody who's a champion knows that 9 weeks is you're putting the icing on the cake. So if you're not all in by now, try again next year.
You're already behind. Yep.
And going back to you, Ryan, what's the biggest mistake you've seen in all these years competing at the Mr. Olympia?
The biggest mistake?
Yeah, Jeremy Potvin is here, and he's being very complimentary of you guys. Jeremy Potvin will be on stage competing against you guys. So, yeah, going back to you, Ryan, what have you seen has been some of the common mistakes that guys make in the final stretch? Those final 24 hours when people tend to hold a little bit of water, or they tend to be out of conditioning. What have you seen that has been some of the mistakes they have made?
You know what? I think nerves get people the most when it comes to the Olympia. When you get there, it's a whole different ball game here. You have the meet the Olympians, the night before. And I think a lot of guys, especially newer guys, they get so excited with the fact that they're just going there that they tend to back off by the time they get there. I've seen many guys not show up at their best at the Olympia. And, man, this is your one-time opportunity. Your first time there is your opportunity to put your footprint in this division and to let people know who you really are, and if you can stand next to the best of the best. And so this prep should be more detailed and more effort than any prep you've ever done before. And that's really what it comes down to, man. Get there, do your homework, be there early, and then you got nothing to worry about.
Jeremy, talk to me about the backstage. Talk to me about the intimidation factor. People take off their shirts, they start tanning, they start looking at each other. Some guys are quiet, some guys are nice, some guys have their headphones. But as a judge, I go back there and I look at it. A lot of things are happening there. There's a lot of tension, and you can tell some guys already intimidated backstage, and some guys already working their game backstage.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of my philosophy. I distanced myself when I was back there. I didn't go into the men's physique changing room. I went found my own little corner and posted up by myself, and I was always the last guy to take off my shirt. I think a lot of guys will get back there and they do that intimidation factor. They try to take off their shirts and flex on everybody, but a lot of guys can go wrong because they start pumping up too early. And you'll see guys back there pumping 30, 40 minutes before stage, and by the time they get up there, they're flat. And that comes with experience and knowledge too. It's kind of like in the Fast and the Furious movie when he hits the NOS and goes out too soon. I bet a lot of times I was backstage watching these guys get their pump on. I'm like, man, too soon. And I would wait, and I was usually the last guy. I wouldn't even start pumping up until the show started because I was always the last one to go out. But I would be walking on stage, and that's when I'd start pumping up. That way I'd bring the fullness. I wouldn't flatten out. We would be up on stage for 30, 40 minutes, and it's hard to stay full up there, especially when you're that lean and that dieted down. Your body doesn't hold on very, very long, especially when you're posing and it's hot on stage and you're sweating. All those things are factors. So it comes down to experience and understanding that. And fortunately, this is going to be Jovin's first time on Olympia stage, but I've been there many times. I'm going to be with him every single second of the way. And, I'm going to be passing on my knowledge to him so he feels comfortable and confident back there to stand with the best.
Now, Jeremy, going back to you here, as a 4-time Mr. Olympia, did you ever feel like you were a target backstage, that guys were looking at you, that guys were like, okay, that's the Mr. Olympia right there in the corner, let me start conversation with him, let me take a picture with him, let me, take off my shirt next to him? Did you ever feel like there was a little bit more tension going towards you because you were the Mr. Olympia?
Yeah, I always felt that way. I don't know if there was actually tension or if that was stuff I put in my own head, because I walked back there. I considered everybody an enemy. I wasn't friends with anybody backstage because I was there to win. I had friends back there, but that was the time of competition, and I don't need friends during competition. I'll be friends with you afterwards. So it's all about mental preparation. For me, I needed to stay in my own head and focus. And I didn't want to get caught up in the chit chat backstage to distract me from what I was trying to accomplish. And I think the only time I ever really dicked around was the last Olympia, and I lost it. And that was partially because, I knew I didn't have that show won. Brandon took off his shirt backstage. I was like, oh, that's it for me. And, that comes back down to that intimidation factor and seeing somebody rip their shirt off. And if you know someone's better than you that day, you got to be honest with yourself back there. And I just didn't bring it in 2018. And it shows. And if you're backstage and you see somebody that looks better than you, that just shows that you didn't do the work you needed to get done. So it's just about confidence and coming in right.
Hey, Buwan, so you're going to be backstage there. And one of the things maybe that brought the confidence that Jeremy had on stage was that he had that attitude, him against the world. They're all my enemies. I'm here to annihilate every single one of them on stage. Is that how you handle the backstage? Do you have a more a passive attitude backstage? What is your attitude backstage going into the Mr. Olympia?
It's funny that he mentioned what he was saying is exactly like how I started competing in my amateur shows and even at the pro level. And the funny thing with that is like people don't like it. They think that you're cocky because you're in your zone and you're keeping to yourself. But I think, and I'm sure like Jeremy agrees with that, that is something you need to bring your best, because if you start chit-chatting and having fun, I don't know, my personality is not like when I'm like competing, I can have fun. There's no jokes, there's no fun. Even with Ryan, every time Ryan's backstage, he's going to be talking to other pros. He leaves me alone. He doesn't come and talk to me. He doesn't like do anything. I'm just in my own space. I need that. Otherwise, I'm just not going to be myself. So yeah, I'm very much similar when I'm backstage. But once the show is done, then it's like a switch. It's like, okay, whatever. You know what? Now we can hang around and take pictures and all that.
That's what the pool party's for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Joven. So I saw that backstage in the Philippines, you had your team there. You had guys that were your friends helping you out, maybe family members. At the Olympia, you will not have that. It will be just you and possibly you know, Jeremy will be there. But what is your game plan to be in a place with about 60 guys that want to destroy you?
I just keep Kuya Jeremy posted every time and follow what he will ask me to do. But um, I'll set my mindset that when I step on stage, I'm gonna dominate it.
Very nice, very nice. Ryan, you've seen different guys backstage. You've seen the fun-loving guys. You've seen guys like Jeremy. I'm here to destroy everybody. Do you have a recommendation, or you perceive what the athlete wants to do backstage?
You know, some guys find different ways to focus. Some guys control their nerves by you know, laughing and trying to have a good time. So whatever helps each individual person, you know, keep focused. But the key to that is what keeps them focused. You know, focus is everything. So I'm more like Jeremy and Buwan, where I needed to be in my own zone, you know, headphones in, not talking to anybody personally. But you know, some guys, you know, if they're in their own head, if it's too quiet. So I try to read the room. I know which guys need what. So backstage as a coach, I just pay attention to each individual guy. And if someone's looking nervous, you know, I might distract them a little bit by joking here and there. But, you know, you just got to know your guys. Like Buwan said, I know Buwan. He's not that guy. So I just tell him, hey, now it's time to pump up, or now it's time to do this, and let's let him do his thing.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah. We're going to try to set up a camera backstage and possibly have a live so that the audience for the first time can get a chance to see what is the dynamic of the backstage, you know. I've had times where I was backstage as a judge just between a break, and when other competitors perceive that somebody is doing better in prejudging, they try to mess with that guy, you know. I'm not going to mention names here, but I've seen, for instance, in bodybuilding, a competitor that made it to the first call out, is doing really well on the first call out. When they take a break and everybody goes backstage, the other competitors, they try to mess with that guy, you know. They don't like the fact that that guy is doing well, that he's surprising everybody. And at times we even had to separate because people really go after. They don't like the fact that somebody is doing that well. So we might broadcast the Olympia. I'm going to talk to Dan Solomon, broadcast the Olympia backstage, and put a microphone on Jeremy. And Jeremy, you interview some of the guys backstage.
Let's do it.
And get a vibe from these guys.
I think that's a good idea. We should do that.
Yeah. So, guys, I want to thank you guys for participating on this live. To me, I travel all over the world, and to see guys like Buwan and to see guys like Joven representing their countries is absolutely awesome. Awesome. I did a video with Buwan, and the Indian fans went crazy on Olympia TV. They're like, this guy's not only representing us on stage, he's representing our flag and our pride. And Joven, when he won in the Philippines, people went crazy. The Filipino crowd is incredible. They're so passionate. I felt like I was in Brazil. I've never seen anything like it. I thought Asians were quiet, reserved, and passive. The Filipinos, they're as crazy as the Brazilians, man. They're jumping and they're celebrating. So that was awesome. But
I wish you were coming to India this time, Tarek. You're missing out on that.
I've been to India, and I was in Chandigarh, and the show had about 700 competitors, and 650 of them were men's physique competitors. They're like men's physique competitors coming out of the subway. They're coming out of the restaurants. There's more men's physique competitors in India than the entire world, you know?
Yeah.
It's fun going to these shows internationally. You're right. The crowds are so much more into it, and you know they're cheering, they're yelling, they're screaming. There's a different energy when you go to these international shows, even at the amateur level. You know, I was in India last time watching an amateur show, and they're chanting these guys' names, and I'm like, wow, this is an amateur show, and they got fans out there. So
And
it's great to see. We want to see that same energy here in the States.
and I would love to see that as well. I went on stage with Sharu and Manish, and I said, guys, based on the number of competitors in India, the odds of an Indian competitor winning the Mr. Olympia is much higher than the Brazilian, than the Mexican, even the United States. You're talking about 1.4 billion people, and most of them are men's physique competitors.
Yeah.
Now, Bhuwan, you are the guy, right? There's no other Indian competitor on the Mr. Olympia stage, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you feel pressure? Do you feel like, because when you go on stage on that prejudging, there's about 1 billion people hoping that you make to that first call out. Do you feel pressure?
That's a really good question, actually. So until this year, I would say, like, until last year, I was more like an underdog, where it's like, okay, there's only one guy that's competing from India, and just he's doing good. But now the pressure to perform at a top level, to keep doing better, as you said, first call out, or to keep winning shows, is a lot. And it's my first time experiencing something like that, where I've always been kind of reserved, more like an introverted side, not from the fitness background. So this is my first time experiencing all of this. So it was getting to me, but I've learned to like channel it, and learn to like really like take it in a positive light. There's always going to be negativity around, where there's going to be a lot of pressure and people will criticize and talk, but there's also a lot of positivity if you like start looking into that direction. So I think I'm very excited to go to the Olympia this year because of that factor, because of that pressure. It just makes you work harder, and I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to get such a good off season this year.
Awesome.
Are you competing in India?
Yeah, I'll be there.
How are you feeling about that? Do you feel more pressure going into the show, going back to India, competing there, than like Olympia? I mean, the pressure to win your homeland, dude. Like, it's got to be there.
It's I was actually going to talk to you in India about that, because I'm like, you have competed at the Olympia so many times, being the champ, and there's so much pressure. I can't even imagine. For me, just going to India as someone that they expect to win is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And yes, it is a lot more pressure than placing even top 5 at the Olympia. That's all like I think. When I spoke to Ryan, I'm like, I don't even think about Olympia right now. I can't. There's so much pressure. The show, India Pro Show, people expect me to bring my best. People expect me to see me for the first time in home. They've never seen me compete live. So yeah, it's a very different experience.
I think you got so many supporters out there, bro. You know, you have a tough lineup coming to India. There's a lot of good guys coming to the show, but you're definitely one of the front runners out there. And you know, you and Brian bring your best. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that I think you can win that show. You know, but regardless, you know, I think your people are going to back you up, and they're proud of you for even being at where you're at, and you know, they're going to be there to support you. So I would say, don't let the nerves get the best of you, because your people support you, and use it as motivation, as fuel to bring you an even better package.
I appreciate that. Thanks,
Well,
Jeremy.
Bhuwan, I'm not as optimistic as Jeremy. I just talked to Omar Ventura, and I talked to Ariel from Team Cuts, and they're saying they're sending their best guys to India because they hate Ryan Benson so much that they want to destroy you and Ryan. So Omar Ventura and Ariel are sending all their best guys to India.
Who are they sending?
They said, hey, listen, Tarek, I'm just letting you know Ryan is not going to India and having a party. We're going to crush the party in India, and we're sending the best guys. I don't know if they're sending Aaron Banks. I don't know who they're sending, but they're sending guys to India to compete against Bhuwan. They're like, it's not going to be a party. It's going to be a war.
I'm all for it.
Put the war paint on, Bhuwan. Get ready for that shit, bro.
Bring it on. That's why I'm competing this weekend. I'm like, bring it on. I'll be ready.
Yeah, Saturday be a preview of what's going to happen in India.
Exactly.
Well, guys, I want to thank you guys. I'm a big instigator, so just take it with a grain of salt. I want to thank you guys for participating. I think Felipe had some problems with the internet, Jovan as well, but thank you so much, Bhuwan. Good luck this weekend, and I know you're already qualified for the Olympia, so we'll see you at the Mr. Olympia. Ryan, thank you so much. I know you're in an Uber running back and forth, but your contribution is very valuable to us, And Jeremy, thank you so much. Well, maybe we're gonna put you to work on that backstage at the Olympia. Put a mic on you, so you can go and interview those guys.
Absolutely, let's do it. I'll be happy to do it.
All right, guys. My name is Tarek El-Guindy with the Mr. Olympia. Some of the greatest icons of the men's physique division on this live. We're getting some experience from the coaches. Jovan is the first Filipino to go to the Mr. Olympia homegrown. Buwan Chauhan, he is the hope of the entire nation in India. He's going to be there on stage. And Felipe Franco is carrying the flag of Brazil. My name is Tarek El-Guindy with the Mr. Olympia. We'll see you next weekend. Bye-bye.